Back to order. Move on to item 2 on the agenda, which is the flood hazard mitigation plan. Mr. Hanlon.
Yes, John, if that's, and members of the board, it's a vote to approve the flood mitigation plan as proposed by our town engineer, Mike Sorgan. It was part of your package a few weeks ago with an accompanying map, and what it just allows, if those grants come in, there has to be a formal board of the selectmen to approve this plan, so we can accept the dough for the plan. Straightforward motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adopt the flood hazard mitigation plan for the town of North Reading dated February 2002.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion is made. Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. With item 3 on the agenda, appointments to the wastewater planning committee. Mr. Hanlon.
Yes, you've received in your package, you should have received the members as proposed. And also the mission that was also previously sent to you, and we discussed at the meeting. I asked for a timeline of 30 days on that, and Tom said that there was no further input on the mission itself regarding their task. By the way, the guidelines for everything is pretty structured stuff. This is not, this is all driven by the Department of Environmental Protection, their wastewater division, which requires the town to create the mission, and the advisory committee to prioritize the service areas in town based on all kinds of matrices, for example, Title V and commercial industrial development, just for 2 examples. The actual, their report then is really driven by that exercise. Once that is completed by the committee, their job is really done. Then it's up to the DPW as the lead agency then to come forward with the actual request for infrastructure dollars to proceed with the implementation of sanitary sewers.
Mr. Trevino.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the mission as presented.
And to
Okay,
appoint.
okay, yeah, let me build that on, excuse me. Okay, Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the mission as presented and to appoint the following to the North Reading Watershed Planning Advisory Committee to serve until the adoption of the Comprehensive Watershed Management Plan or until the mission is complete. Citizens representatives: Philip H. O'Brien, 95 Park Street; Scott Haynes, 17 Quimby Road; Dennis Conry. Pardon me?
Denise.
I'm sorry, Denise Conry, 2 Timber Lane. Board representatives: James Muldoon, Board of Selectmen; Bradley Jones Jr., Senior, Finance Committee; Warren Pierce, Community Planning Commission; Martin Weiss, Conservation Commission; Gary Hunt, Board of Health; Shep Spear, IRWA, Local Representative; Carl Tewitt, Water Commission; Ted Niels, Chamber of Commerce; Mike Scannell, Martin's Ponds Association; April Bowling, Programs Director, IRWA; ex officio, David Hanlon, Mark Clark, DPW staff; Weston and Sampson, Consultant Engineer.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Yeo.
Thank you. Mr. Hanlon, the 3 citizen appointees, were there any others that applied?
Not that I'm aware of. Everything came through to Tom's office as far as those citizens.
Mr. Younger, were there any other
No.
applicants?
To my knowledge, you received all copies of everything we had, and it was actually tough getting some people up into the committee. We had actually pushed to get some on there.
Okay, I don't have a problem with the people that are here. I just, if we're gonna vote on them, I just think in the future that if people are submitting resumes or so forth to show their qualifications or their area of expertise, that we be giving them in advance before we're asked to vote on their appointment for boards.
Mr. Young.
Mr. Calgy, as we do for committee appointments, there's policy change where all names are put in the nomination for anyone who's put up for a committee, so it just does not come as, a select, here's 5 names that I'm recommending. I think the policy's been in effect at least for the past year and a half.
Less than that.
Less than that?
Less than that.
Okay, time doesn't go fast.
The new policy of the board, the personnel policy book requires that all names of anyone requesting appointment to that committee
Would appear.
would be put into nomination. So in this case, we have 3 citizens representatives, and we only have 3 citizens.
Okay, that's fine, and I'm not objecting to anybody on this list. My point is, if there are qualifications that we could see before we're voting upon people, I just think it would be helpful.
But the other thing I'll just point out is on your correspondence,
Right.
anyone submitting anything is equivalent. So typically,
So that nobody, then, there wasn't any types of professional references or so forth
well, they would
submitted
have
by
had
any of the
citizens'
people that are on
activity
this?
records at some point, but that would have been in the past.
Okay, well, I haven't been here in the
I-
past, so I guess that's why I'm asking to, if I could just see in the future. I'm not gonna object to it this evening, but in the future, I would appreciate that.
Mr. Hannon.
Only specific to this, Kevin, maybe I can help. The DEP wants to see a cross-section of those folks involved with the community. That's why if you notice a large number of the group is with members of, like, the Board of Health or CPC or.
That's why I didn't mention them when I was
Right.
speaking of it. I was talking about the
They're,
citizens part.
because their involvement with the town, they have knowledge of the town logistically, whether it's the bent from public health or the bent from community planning. That's what DEP wants to see.
Right.
As far as the basic citizen involvement, one particular person is a civil engineer with a consulting firm that is in that kind of business.
Right.
The other 2 folks, well, Nick O'Brien, you know what Nick does, but obviously he has a tremendous history of the community. So, but the DEP still wanted to acknowledge, if you will, citizens at large, whether they really had in-depth engineering background or not. But the core of the group, they want to see that has the expertise in terms of the knowledge of the community from the different bents.
No, and I agree with you. Will. My point in bringing this up was if we have people that are putting themselves forward to serve in these, we want to, if we have the opportunity to select from a larger group, I think it'd be helpful for us to see what qualifications they would actually bring to the table. And it'd be beneficial to put the most qualified in a given area on a committee such as that, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, again, from a process perspective, if there were a bunch here, we probably would have gathered more people with a backup.
That's fine. Thank you.
We got 3 volunteers, and that's what we needed. It was hard getting those 3.
Don't let them go.
Works out good.
You want to look at the paperwork? I don't.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I did want to look at the paperwork, and I agree with Mr. Calgy that it's important for the board to review the qualifications, especially where applicable. I understand what Mr. Hanlon's saying about this committee, but just to thank the citizens who volunteered for the committee, and to say that obviously Nick O'Brien needs no introduction to this community with his years of service. I have a letter here that Scott Haynes sent in submission for this committee, and I got it because I requested to see his background, and he is a civil engineer with a great deal of wastewater experience specifically, and Denise Connery, someone who I'm acquainted with personally, is also a civil engineer with experience in this specific area, so we're very lucky here, I think, to have these 3 citizens, and like I said, it's important to know their background, and I think they will serve this committee very well.
Further discussion? Motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, Mr. Muldoon, 401. Move to, move to our 750. Public hearing. This is on Verizon Plan 448, Haverhill and Park Street. Notice of public hearing in accordance with Chapter 166, Section 22 of Mass General Law. Public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen in Room 14, Town Hall, 235 North Street, on Monday, June 17, 2002, at 7:50 p.m. on the petition of Verizon New England Incorporated to lay and maintain underground conduits and manholes with the wires and cables to be placed therein under the surface of Haverhill Park and Park Streets as described on Verizon Plan number 448 dated 4/4/02, and the notice was sent to Verizon and the abutters on 6/4/02. And this is the placement of utility wires at the common. And we have a response from Michael Sorgan, the town engineer, and he has no objections to the request. I know I saw correspondence from the historic, I believe I saw correspondence from the Historic District Commission. They have no issues with it. So, everyone. We have a representative from Verizon.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. For the record, my name is Joseph Gleason. I'm a right-of-way agent with Verizon New England. Our office is located at 28th Anna Lane in Drake. The petition before you tonight calls for the placement of approximately 578 feet of underground conduit along Haverhill Street, in addition to approximately 1,547 feet of underground conduit along Park Street, in addition to the Park Street conduit request. Verizon is also seeking permission to install 2 manholes, one at the intersection of Haverhill and Park, one a little bit further down the street towards Bow Street. My understanding is speaking to the right-of-way manager at Verizon, this is all part of an undergrounding project that is ongoing here in the historic district in the town of North Reading. It's also my understanding that this particular job is being coordinated with our friends at Reading Municipal Light as well as the cable company, and that all 3 utilities are going to be using the same trench to place their conduit. That's really some of the substance of my presentation. Thank you.
Is there anyone here from the public seeking recognition on this issue? And again, the Historic District Commission looked at the detailed maps, the position of the transformer cabinets and the underground and the in-ground junction boxes, and the commission approved their position, these are their minutes, these are draft. The commission approved their positioning and agreed that any camouflage needed will be addressed after installation. A certificate of appropriateness will be issued.
Chairman, is this being done in conjunction with the widening of 62? Or if not, could it be so that we don't disrupt the businesses down there more than we need to?
Mr. Hanlon.
It's done in conjunction with Route 62 project, Kevin, but it's a separate contract.
So it's going to be, are we going to disrupt those businesses twice? Is it possible for us to do it just once?
Well, in the bigger picture thing, the Route 62 project is probably going to take 2.5 years. It'll
Okay.
get underway this year and go through all of next year and the following year. So in that context, the underground project would be done at the beginning of that project, so.
But not necessarily when they're working on that strip of 62?
Well, they can't, they have to, actually, ideally, we want the utilities in first. You know, we want them in the ground, because the Route 62 project is, except for some drainage, is mostly surface orientated. So we want the town center, really, for the utility companies to get, we're meeting with the resident engineer tomorrow from the state on the Route 62 project, so we're coordinating that, but right now, it's to get the utilities in now. When I say now, like, Michael, how soon? August 1st?
Yeah, I would anticipate it right at the start.
Or would it be, you know, totally disruptive to the project to try to coordinate it? So
Well-
that the businesses in that area aren't gonna be affected twice, as opposed to just,
Well, again,
you know, one
to the
time?
extent that we're taking it within the window of the Route 62 project, the answer is yes. It isn't like we're gonna do one, nothing for 6 months or a year and come back and do everything all over again. It's within the window of the Route 62 project. That's the best we can do.
Okay, but that's what I'm saying, though, you're saying it's a 2.5-year process
And
for
and
the
the
widening,
underground wiring will be within that same time frame.
when they're doing that area down in there. That's all I'm asking, so that we keep it as, you know, as small a disruption for those businesses as
That's the
possible.
plan.
Okay.
Further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the petition of Verizon New England Incorporated to lay and maintain underground conduit under the surfaces of Haverhill and Park Streets as shown in plan number 448 dated 4/4/02.
Second.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous? Thank you. Public hearing, Reading Municipal Light Plan 1871, Haverhill and Park Streets. Read the notice into the record. In accordance with Chapter 166 of Mass General Laws, a public hearing will be held by the Board of Selectmen in Room 14, Town Hall, 235 North Street, North Reading, Mass, on Monday, June 17, 2002, at 7:55 p.m. on the petition of Reading Municipal Light Department to locate conduit on Haverhill Park Streets as described on Reading Municipal Light Department Plan number 1871 dated 5/13/02, and the notice was sent to RMLD and the abutters on 6/4/02. Again, we have a letter from Mr. Sorgan, the town engineer, with no objections to the project, and as referenced previously, the Historic District Commission. Is there anyone from the public seeking recognition on this issue?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the petition of Reading Municipal Light Department to lay and maintain underground conduit under the surfaces of Haverhill and Park Street as shown in Plan number 1871 dated 5/13/02.
Second for discussion.
Discussion, Mr. Beaver.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Just a question. I see on the map we have Bow Street also colored in, but not mentioned in the... I mean, maybe we don't have what I have. I have Bow Street colored in on the map. I'm just wondering if that's part of it. Yep, Mike, come see what I have, so you can see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's
That's
too extensive. We do incorporate maybe a couple hundred feet of Bow Street.
Do we need that listed in the motion?
There were some actual plans that accompanied this petition, RMLD's petition, and AT&T's petition. They were-
I'm not opposed to it, I just
Oh,
want to
no,
be
no,
sure that
no.
we, I just
Yeah,
want to be sure,
Here were the
because
plans.
RMLD doesn't mention Bow Street under
It
this.
doesn't show on the plan, but this is the one.
It references the Edwards and Kelsey plan.
That's right.
Okay, if you see what I'm saying. It lost it.
Oh,
I just want to show we do it right.
okay.
So we're all set to the references that plan. Correct?
Yes.
Fine.
You worried about the butters?
Well, because it does mention, you know, what we should have covered. That's,
Was there one less, or just one less?
I'm sure they will.
Attached on the list. Nothing attached.
That's, it references the plan.
Here it is.
Just want you to do it right.
The residents of Bow Street were all notified.
That's fine. Yep, that's fine. Thank you.
A motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dave.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is amend automatic amusement device license, Rocket Entertainment, DBA Candlewood Lanes. This is continued from the prior meeting and continued from the meeting before that. We have representatives from Rocket Entertainment here this evening. This was to amend the license from 8 to 15. We did get copies from all the department heads. Police, fire, finance, health, buildings, CPC, and conservation, and there were no issues raised. Perhaps if I, Chef Thompson?
Yes.
Perhaps, Mr. Thompson, you could address the board. It was noted at our last meeting that the machines were already in place.
Yeah, in discussion with the vendor, he had brought up the point that we might want to increase the number of machines. We did indicate that was something we were going to do, and we had filed an application prior to attending the meeting. He'd already brought the machines and had already installed them, and that's the reason why that they were already there. He just put the cart before the horse.
From the board. Questions from the board?
Are those, Mr. Chair, for me, are those machines in operations now, or operation now, or
They should be turned off.
they should be?
They should be. I keep them turned off when I'm there. And the only reason they wouldn't be on is if they switch them. For the most part, the machines we're looking to add are machines more geared towards children. And if there are birthday parties or something in there, they'll turn off the machines that are towards the center and turn those ones on.
Mr. Cal?
How long have the extra machines been on the premises?
I think they've been there now about 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
It was preceding or following the initial application. The initial application was made 3rd. That's when the application was made, but we had it on our agenda. The 6th, I believe. Right? Do we have it on the agenda then? No, 20th. It was only on twice.
It's on there twice.
So it was on our agenda on May 20th.
May 20th, so.
It was the first time it was on our agenda. So when were they?
I believe it's been, they've been there about 3 weeks. We delivered them ahead of time. And we kept them shut off pending approval of, and if it was denied, then we just have them removed. It just didn't make sense to have them, have his men come out, deliver them, tell them to take them out, and then if we got approved, bring them all back again. If it's denied, he only takes them out once.
Mrs. Bailey?
I have a comment and a question. The comment is that I had the occasion to be in Candlewood Lanes on Saturday afternoon, and being aware that this was coming up on our agenda, I took a look, and all of the machines were indeed operational. So that does concern me. I guess the second is a question. Can you talk a little bit about your business strategy and why you're seeking to increase the number of automatic amusement devices?
The only reason we're looking to increase the number of automatic amusement devices is just to give the people that are there games more geared towards children, some more towards adults, and some that are can be both. It seems like the air hockey game in particular is popular amongst kids and adults. It doesn't matter. Everybody likes to play that game. But to have some games that are more geared towards adults, some that are more geared towards younger kids.
Mr. Kelly?
Sir, I don't have any problem with you having what you think your business needs to be successful. I would just encourage you in the future to not put the cart before the horse and just to follow the procedures. You're entitled to run your business however you wish, and as long as it's within the laws and regulations of the town. I just wish that you would come here first before, whether they were delivered and kept off. Mrs. Bailey states that she was in there and they were on. So I just think in the future that it'd be wise to do it in the proper procedure.
I just follow along with Mr. Callaghan's comments. At the prior two hearings, you're not here to represent yourself. Had you been, it may be that the license I don't know what the board's going to vote, but if it was approved at the first meeting, it could be that you would have had an approval of what was subsequently delivered. But you weren't here for the first hearing, and then you weren't here for the continuance, and I'm not going to get into the whys of that. But I think that, as Mr. Callaghan stated, you need to operate within the rules and regulations of the town. And if you have business before the board, I would strongly urge you, as I would anyone who had business before the board, to be there to represent themselves and/or their position, so that they have a voice in the process. So we did continue this twice as opposed to dispensing of it. So, but again, I would just urge you to follow that protocol. Mr. Muldoon, were you seeking recognition?
Yes. Mr. Thompson, would you say that one of the reasons for putting in the video machines is, one of the main reasons is to attract more children to the facility? Or?
I don't think anybody's going to be attracted to the facility just to go play the video games. I think it's just an option for parents that maybe having a birthday party where you have the attention span of maybe some of the younger kids isn't as long as it would be for an adult. If you've got a bunch of kids bowling on a few lanes, that the kids that aren't bowling because it's not their turn have something else to do other than just stand there or running around, that it does give them something else to do.
Mr. Bean?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, thank you. I just want to speak, sir, that I do believe you gave me an honest answer when you said you're not there. Well, when you're there, they're not on. I do wholeheartedly believe Mrs. Bailey is saying that we're all on Saturday. So you did give me an honest answer. I will say that. It does bother me that you was not at the prior two hearings. I only wish now I had gone in on my own to check it. I plan on voting against this. I want to send a message out that this board takes very seriously our procedures, for protocol, for licenses, and I'm not saying you tried to deceive us in any way, but I think this should have been handled differently.
Anyone else? I'm tempted to go along with you, Joe, and not vote for it, but I don't know that that's appropriate. If this situation occurred, again, at this location, I wouldn't hesitate to require immediate removal of anything that's in violation. So that, does anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move to amend the automatic amusement device license for Candlewood Lanes, 35 Main Street, from 8 video games to 15 video games.
Motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Passed 3-2. Thank
I would like to say, Mr. Chairman, we are new to the town, and this will not happen again. Thank you.
you. Thank you. Is anyone here on the light?
No, they've been notified of such, and
No representation? No. Why don't we put that off, why don't we move to item 10, the police station building committee. See, they've been patiently waiting. And their architect is here with them. Just before I turn it over to Mr. Jones, who's chairman of the police station building committee, Alan Lee, who's their architect. The committee has met on several occasions since the failure of town meeting, and the failure at the override at the polls, because they were waiting to see what the outcome might be of that. They feel it's important to move forward with the project, if at all possible and feasible. And so they've been meeting amongst themselves, as well as with the architect to see if it is possible to move forward with the project with the $4.8 million that's appropriated, and what that would mean to the program and the facility. And so, and I've attended most of their meetings, so I think they've, again, done a great job, and I'll turn it over to Mr. Jones to walk us through it.
The sketch you're looking at was done by one of our members, just basically to give the architect an idea of what we were thinking, and to take it to him and say, Alan, is this possible? And by the way, folks, he's not charging us for it, just so that we'd be all clear of that. So I took it to him, and he gave me 2.5 to 3 hours one day with his engineering staff, and he said, yes, it is possible to do what we have on the sketch and come within the budget. And so now what we're doing, we're coming here asking for it to give us approval to go further with it. And at the same time, to add a few members onto our committee, because we're down to 5, we could use another 3 or 4. Hopefully, people that are in the government already, a la CPC, HDC, somebody that's going through the permitting process would help.
So lend that level of expertise
Right.
to the project and the program.
Right.
Great idea.
And so if you've got any questions to the architect, I think we're still awake, aren't we?
We're awake.
Yeah.
So we're, actually, if I may, Alan, perhaps you could walk the board through the budget just at a high level.
Yep.
And maybe give a little reconciliation and/or comparison to, how this project comes in at 4.8, because obviously, this isn't the same project we've been looking at.
Not at all.
And it's not the same program space we've been looking at and talking about
That's
as well.
correct.
So if you could
Sure,
walk us
just
through
so you'll
that.
understand also, an issue, we took roughly the rough area of the new proposed thing that the committee had come up with, and we went into our computer to make sure the big fire truck can still clear, go around the site and clear, and it can. We figured that out, just so you know that. What I did also is I brought some copies for, these are both budgets. This is one which had the 6.2 and the 4.8, which we put together, and I'll go through the comparison with you. If you like, I can get copies of my numbers, which are handwritten on the sheets I have. Okay. First of all, the original building that we had at town meeting this past fall was 18,363 square feet, of which was 960 square feet of renovated space, which was basically the old firing range underneath the fire station. And there was 17,403 square feet of new construction. The difference being on the 4.8 million that we've come up with, we have leaving the existing building, the existing police portion of the building, as is, and we will renovate that. And that's 6,305 square feet. The new addition would be 10,615 square feet. So one of the key differences in cost, obviously, is when you take the 17,403 at $225 a square foot versus 10,615 at $232, because escalation is still marched on. And that gives you a debt savings, and also the difference between the renovated square foot, which is half of the new square footage. And then on the architect, so in the first part, there's a differential of $1,166,459 on footage differences and the cost per square foot differentials. Under basic professional services, there would be a differential of $29,445. On budget and administrative costs, the key elements that you save on, we no longer have temporary police facility, so that's a savings of $300,000. We don't have two moves anymore, that's $75,000. Reproduction and reimbursable expenses would go up, and it comes to a net savings of $360,000. On the basic services, on the architectural services, I meant there was a $29,445 increase from what it was before. Renovated construction is a higher fee level. On the budget for construction-related items, clerical works, construction testing, etc., that stays the same as it was before. That doesn't change. On the budget for furniture, equipment, interiors, etc., what we did was we shifted the fees for movable furniture and interior design, which was $30K, and shifted it over to the professional services. That's why that went up roughly $29,000 and change. That's the differential. So that would be a net savings overall of $39,496. On the miscellaneous consultants, there's a less $12,244, an increase of $7,000 on cost estimating. There's a pickup on the contingency on both areas, and it comes out to a net savings of roughly $1,442,000. And if you do that, we took the difference, the other $42,000, and threw it in the contingency, because we felt that's where it should be, just at this stage anyways. So we feel it's very possible at $4.8 million to do the project. And if you want, I can have Tom's got his copy machine, you can make copies of this. I just didn't have time to make copies of that, but that would give you the numbers I just read off to you, by line item as to what the savings are. So we feel very confident it could be done.
We've got it's really the relocation cost changing from sort of all new construction to a big portion that's renovated.
Right, exactly.
Construction cost and the relocation cost, those two things combined make up
The
that
$1.4 million,
$1.4 million.
Right, I just broke it all down so you see exactly what every dollar was, 'cause I think that's what you're looking for.
But then there are some,
Pluses,
there are some pluses, and then there is
negatives.
some program space
oh yeah, the
It's gonna
difference,
have
the
to get-
difference of about,
squeezed out.
yeah, absolutely, the 16, almost 2,000 square feet out. About 1,700 and something to be exact. And that, we'll work that out with the police department, with the program, we'll sit down with them and revise the program, and somebody's gotta go. Doesn't have to. Probably the community room is one, it's a large area, there's enough conference space in the building that could happen, or
And that-
move
that-
the fire apparatus up, set chairs up and use that one day if that's possible. I'm just throwing it out as a
But
possibility.
that's one of the areas that's not.
It's not a
requirement.
sacred, not a
It's not
sacred cow.
It's not, yeah.
Right.
Well, to some it may be a sacred cow. It's not an absolute requirement in order to build the facility.
Not at all. No.
There's no mandate at a state or federal or law enforcement level that says thou must have in the community.
No.
It's not to say you shouldn't build
Right,
a
the key-
facility to have one.
That's right. The key thing with community rooms, when that all started about 9 years ago, there was a lot of it was, I mean, obviously it's a training area, but we have a squad room, and that can be adjusted a little bit too with the footage to make it a multi-purpose type space. The word community room came about 9 years ago when the Jujuga bill was hot up at the State House. When they were putting a reimbursement program similar to the school programs, they were gonna have a police and fire program. And in order to qualify, they were mandating a community room. That bill's never gone anywhere, so whether that would happen in our lifetime or not, at this stage, I doubt it. So I mean, the squad room can be adjusted with footages and give them the same, don't make it a multi-purpose space, which I think would be more prudent also.
Questions from the board, Mr. Vino?
Not a question, a comment. I want to thank you, Mr. Lieb. I know you've put in many hours of your own time in your firm, and I want to thank the Police Station Building Committee also for going forward. I do not believe this is the best solution, but I believe it's the only one. And I believe we do have to move forward, we do have to do something. And that's why I brought this up a couple of meetings ago, to step forward and to do something, and I applaud you for that, and I am ready to go forward this evening with the plans.
Mr. Muldoon?
Mr. Lee,
Yes.
if I understand this correctly, you're going to be doing this construction while the police station is fully operational.
What they would do is they would build a new addition first, and then the police would shift over to the new space, you deal with the new space to operate, and then would renovate the front, which would be mainly communication, spaces the public would hit, basically, initially. That's right.
Okay. My only question is, now that's a very tight space. How are you going to deal with, you're building a new building attached to the old building. You have a fenced-off area, construction vehicles, construction trailer. How is the police department and/or fire department going to operate there?
Well, the fire department probably will not have much inconvenience other than getting around the building at that point in time. And again, a lot of that's going to be scheduling. We've done a lot of facilities where they've been occupied. For example, Ludlow, that was a fully operational police and fire facility. We doubled the police department and the fire department while occupied. And like in the fire department during the day, they pulled the vehicles out of the apparatus space, the contractors rolled staging in, did their thing till 3:30 and played switch, literally. It's tight, it can be inconvenient at times, but it can be done, we've done lots of it. It's called coordination. The site is very tight, and probably the contractor's gonna have to bring materials in on an ongoing basis. I mean, the storage space on the site is very, very limited, as we all know. Once they have the overhead, the upper level built, they can actually store materials below between the back of the fire station and the back of the existing police area. That area there could be used for some storage, but it's gonna be difficult, and we will pay a premium for having materials off-site and brought on-site. That's a premium we factored in there already. If you looked at the difference in cost between the cost per square foot when we had it before to now, we have factored that in there. You don't have the premium of having a site, you can just put everything. Structural steel, when it comes in, they unload that from the truck and direct it right from the truck, so that's done as it comes in. The masonry, if we end up with masonry on the outside, that's gonna be an inconvenience from staging, but again, that can be overcome. It's just, you know, it's a coordination effort of the general contractor. And there might be a piece of land that, you know, maybe they can use the back of town hall or someplace to store materials and they bring it over daily for days' work. And that's something we're gonna have to work out. That's gonna be all part of the planning process.
Sounds like you're gonna need a traffic cop.
Probably one or two.
There might be a couple
Jim, I think if you went up to Andover right now,
Yeah,
you'll
they're doing the same
you'll
thing.
see it. Where Andover's police department and
They're doing it,
anything
right.
but a fire truck is parked on Route 28.
Yeah,
Mr. Vito.
If I could just assure Mr. Muldoon, not with Mr. Lee's company, but I did live through this exact same thing with less
Is
space
that why
in
you
the rear.
retired?
That's why I retired. Drove me crazy. No, that was the new building. With less space in the rear than what they actually have down there.
It can be done.
Yes, it can be done. It's a
purely
cooperation
coordination.
issue, but it can be done.
Exactly. And
in the
everyone's
end,
gonna give a little
it's
bit.
worth it.
I mean,
Right.
crazy things happen. I can tell you when they're doing Ludlow, we were fixing part of the old building with a new connected, and they were pouring grout to put a bond beam in at the roof, and next thing you know, the fire chief secretary was sitting there with concrete coming through the ceiling. Someone forgot to put a block of wood in there to hold it back, and she sat there with concrete all over her computer. So it can happen, the contractor replaced the computer, not the end of the world, but it's called planning. And if you have the right contractor, and obviously, there's a lot of good ones out there, more good than bad, and it's just coordination. It can be very tight coordination, but it'll work.
And this building will give us everything that we had expected in the old building, minus the, a few things that are
You
unnecessary.
mean from the other plan, you mean, the other
Yes.
design? Yeah, it'll be minus a few things, right, but nothing that would affect the operations of the police department, not at all. That's top priority, is operations.
Maybe some spaces slightly smaller than
Might be some
you'd like
places,
or hope for, and maybe some spaces like a community room that aren't there.
there might be some rooms that'll end up becoming multi-purpose, multi-use instead of a single use. And you gotta remember, in this plan is a 30-year growth factor, so there's a growth element in here, and over time, you'll find that people adjust very easily. You gotta remember from what they're coming from to what they're going to. There's a big differential there. Big differential.
Still more than
And part of the process would be sitting down with the police and the committee and doing some reprogramming and coming back here with the police so that you're comfortable with the fact that they're gonna be able to operate with the 1,700 square feet out of the whole picture is not a huge volume of space.
What is the next step for the committee and for yourself to do design development?
Next step would be for the town to engage a contract with my firm. That would be number one. Then we can move ahead. And we would do a schematic, we have to start with schematic design all over again. And go
So it'd
through
be
the whole process.
schematic design. So
Yes, schematic design, then once that's approved, design development, and then we'd go to construction documents. If we can get this project started
we can do
between
those-
now and the middle of July, have a contract between the town, I'm sure Tom and I can work that out pretty quickly. We could have this out on the street to bid in March.
Can those contracts be at those, can it be at those pieces? In other words, a contract for schematic design?
Well, we'd like to sign an entire contract, if you want to do it in
I-
pieces.
I know
can-
you.
Yeah, well, we're
I'm
going
asking
to,
the
we
question
will,
now.
but it's to your benefit, it's gonna cost you more to do it the other way. But what you can do is we can
What?
negotiate the entire contract, and then you can give me authorization to proceed with schematic design. Once we get to that phase, you can then give me a separate letter, authorization to go design development.
And that's.
Meanwhile, all
that's-
the language is all resolved.
That's really the point I'm getting at, is that, if I've read your contract. If it's the contract for the entire project,
Mhm.
but there are stops, automatic stops built within it, so So
Which
the
would
approval-
require written approval from the people, right?
an approval process along the way, so that, so that we can't get halfway down the road and then say, uh-oh.
I can't move ahead by phase unless you approve it anyhow.
Okay.
Because that would be in my best interest, I don't operate that way.
Right. No, I understand.
Yeah, we do a schematic design, we're gonna make the building committee sign off, the police sign off, and your board sign off before we proceed. Plus, in that schematic design phase, once we have that design resolved, and hopefully the building committee gets the additional members of the level they're looking for, I think that'll make the process of historics easier to deal with than the last time. And deal with the CPC, I believe, the other committee, is that correct? We have to go to zoning, we have some zoning variances to get, which we wrote a letter to the board about that. So we have all those to deal with, and during schematic, that entire schematic design phase, that's when we want to deal with all that. Get it all out of the way, and then once schematic design's done, hopefully the approvals are there and we can march ahead.
Just a house.
Is this gonna compromise, like, before we were looking for, what, a 25-year building, something that would cover us, what, for 25 to 30 years?
30.
So this will still cover the needs for the next 30 years?
Absolutely.
And second, you guys sound like you did all the planning. What about with this, we were talking earlier about Verizon, who's gonna be working on the road and the Route 62. Now you're compressing your work area in between the reconstruction of Route 62. Is that all gonna be sort of collide in the center of town?
We have nothing to do with, we're gonna be off 62, we have nothing to do with 62, so.
It's
You
likely-
can see what I'm saying, what if you guys are in full swing construction at the same time that end of 62 is being uprooted? Where's the traffic gonna go?
Yeah, depending on the timing of the Route 62 project or this project, it's certainly bound to be an inconvenience to this project, but no more so than any other inconvenience. And there's also the inconvenience to the entire community as they're
Right.
going through it.
The road traffic issue is gonna be the same whether we're doing a building or not doing a building.
Right, so
That's gonna happen.
it's just another issue for them to be cognizant of and try to plan around and try to foresee so that they minimize the disruption. But obviously, it's gonna disrupt all of us.
But the only work we have in the front really of the building is the new septic field. That's really the only key, the only major item, but everything else is going to be back, so it shouldn't affect you.
You're saying you're gonna be bringing equipment in off-site, stored off-site, you can't store it on-site, so.
Well,
I have
that's
no
just
idea-
trucks
I
though.
have no idea how much equipment and how much product you're gonna be trying to bring in stuff off-site, possibly, at a site that's just totally dug up and no longer there. I mean, you're talking about.
It's a construction site, it doesn't need paving, I mean, that's
Okay, as
not
long as
an
that
issue.
doesn't interfere.
No.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes, I have several questions. First, I would like to thank Mr. Reeve and Mr. Jones and the rest of the committee for sticking with us under difficult circumstances. That said, I have a few questions, and I'll go one at a time. If this could fit in the $4.8 million budget, and it sounds like you're saying a modest amount of space would be deleted, something that's not significant to the operations, why was this not proposed before? What makes the other plan, other than it's marginally bigger, better? Why wouldn't you have come
It's
forward?
more complicated to renovate the existing space, because the existing building is not designed to receive another story.
Mhm.
So there's a little bit of a premium within this construction that they're gonna pay to be able to put another story, that's number one. Number two, the existing building is, once you delete the basement, the upper level is very limited to what it can be used for. Where before, we were bringing the entire building up new, starting from scratch, it'd be all new space. It's gonna give sort of a mixed match of construction on the site, between the old and the new.
And how far back toward the Great Wall, how far back to the Great Wall is this?
I have not done any design work. The only work I've done is the site plan that I showed the board a few minutes ago. And when I came up with the footages that I have, I was going right back to the Great Wall.
You're going right back to the Great Wall.
Right, that's the
And
initial,
I see that.
but we haven't done a layout, so we
Yeah,
don't
I
know.
know this is very conceptual, and I see that this is up on some sort of stilts here, but I read the flood hazard mitigation plan in detail this weekend, and one of the points on it is the public safety building. And granted, in the March 2001 flood, the wall held with some 4 inches plus to spare, but it says that the building could sustain damage and that flooding is still a concern there and that it's critical because it's the public safety building. So certainly, even though this is on stilts, if it's going back to the Great Wall, I mean, that's something that I think you need.
Absolutely, and just so you understand, we don't have it on stilts, and when we did our initial layout, we assumed, if you looked at the site plan, we have large piers, which are not just a column, it's an actual pier. If you look on here, first of all, you see these dark squares here, those are like 4 feet per square, number one. Number two, the lower level is not going back to the
Right,
red wall, it's the upper level that's going back, so that's gonna be about 12 feet above the grade that's there now. So you'd have to have about 17 feet of water, and if you have 17 feet of water back there, nothing's gonna protect it.
Yeah, depending
It's
what
gone.
you're.
And you'll never have that. Based on the site work we had done the last time, and the 100-year floodplain and everything, that's not an issue. There is a drain system back there now, we're gonna be adding still an under-slab drain system in the existing building in the new part on the lower level that we're gonna put in also. Plus we have to put a drain, it drains back out into the other side of the wall, so there's I can't think of the right word, the backdraft is not the right word, I'm sorry, I can't think about it right now. There's a valve we put in there so it only flows in one direction. Backflow, thank you. Mine go up tonight.
Not a plumber, he's an architect.
Just one more question and one comment. I had attended a meeting where Mr. Lee had said that once you build onto that site, even for 4.8 million, and
Mhm.
correct me if I misunderstood me, you were done, that there was no more room for any expansion. I just want to make sure that's correct. Renovation, if for some reason policing standards should require a second Sally Port down the line, what can you do with this building?
With the number of arrests that this yacht department has,
Mhm.
a one-bay Sally Port's all you need. The only time we've ever done multiple bay Sally Ports is we're doing one for Revere, Taunton. Those are huge departments with voluminous arrests daily versus what you have. Granted, where the additions proposed, that's gonna be the maximum you can do. The only other place you could go to add on would be the attic space of the fire station, over the apparatus space, and I can't envision the police department needing that kind of space. I mean, what we're putting in there will handle their needs for 30 years plus. I mean, if you saw what they're operating out of now, and it's really very tough conditions that they're operating under now. They're really working out of closets. But when the new building is built, you're talking a building 3 times the size of what they have in volume. So it's going to solve their programmatic needs. So I don't foresee an issue in the future.
I've seen what they're operating out of, and they obviously deserve a larger enhanced facility. But you can add on to something, and just because it's 3 times the size it was, doesn't, I'm not saying that it's not big enough in this case, but that doesn't by definition
Depends how it's planned. If it's planned properly, it's functional space. That's what
make
it's all
it big
about.
enough. Balancing the obvious need, one thing that concerns me, we received a letter in our last meeting from Mr. LeRae with another plan. There's obviously still school needs and other capital needs in town, and I would want to be sure that if we go forward with one plan, that we're sure it fits into the scheme of all the wisest plans. That's a comment, not a question, but I guess I would want to make sure we have a lot of capital needs and that they're not addressed. None is addressed in the bathroom. I just want to, I'm not saying this is, but I want to be sure of that and have to feel comfortable with that. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Kelly.
Thank you. I'd just like to applaud the committee for basically taking a can-do approach. This is something we need to do, and for you people to expend your energies and find a way to get it done for the money that the voters have already approved, I think you deserve great applause. I also would like to applaud your call for expanding membership, and taking into account key constituencies and differing perspectives that all are gonna have some input into the final solution. I again, just applaud you for the job you've been doing and what you have done, and for your vision to expand the input to make sure that everybody is heard at the beginning stages of the planning process, as opposed to people weighing in after a solution is already on the table. And I think that's great foresight on your part, and I think you guys are doing a great job. And this, to me, is something, is a positive, it represents a positive step to solving a long-standing need. And again, I just think you guys are doing a great job, and hope you can continue to do so. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mullen?
Mr. Lee, I just want to make sure, I just have one question. There's a couple contingencies built in here. One is $236,000 construction, one is $67,000 soft costs. I just want to know, and be assured that you've analyzed this as closely as possible and that you can stay within $4.8 million.
Yes.
Thank you.
As the liaison to the police station building committee, I probably have fewer questions. I think, again, along the lines of Mr. Callaghan's comments, they've done a great job. They're very persistent. I thank Mr. Lee for his work on this. I think that we all realize as a community we need to address this issue, and the voters actually approved addressing this issue this way. I think in conjunction with Mr. Vino's comment, I'm not sure this is the absolute best, but it addresses the need, and it's a good solution. And it's within the available funding, et cetera. And along the lines of Mr. Muldoon's comment, you can't come back for more. So you better be right. And if you're not, you better figure it out real quick, like tomorrow. Because it's just not gonna fly. So that's my word of, you've heard that from me before. So, but I would be inclined to have to allow the committee to move forward as the liaison to the Historic District Commission. I will contact them and see if they perhaps would like to have a representative on the police station building committee, and perhaps a representative to the CPC could do the same for them, assuming the board votes to proceed, which would supplement your membership, Mr. Jones. I think that's a great idea. We get some expertise that can assist in that process as you work through that process. So the chair would entertain a motion.
I'm trying to think what it would be.
The chair would.
John, I'd like to point out before you go any further that before I went to the architect, I cleared it with the town administrator. I said, am I within my bounds to go to the architect and talk to him, as long as I'm not signing any bills for the town of North Reading? He said, yes. I said, okay, because I just want to let you know that we...
No, and I think several of the members, myself included, have thanked Mr. Lee for his time, because obviously he's dedicated some time to this project, without a contract. But he's got that hope of a contract. So there is an incentive there.
Absolutely.
No, we absolutely appreciate your sticking with it, along with the committee,
My pleasure.
to try to address this issue.
Mr. Chairman, I will move to instruct the police station building committee to go forward on the conceptual plans that we are doing this evening.
To allow the TA to negotiate the
To allow the
contract.
town administrator to negotiate a contract.
see that? Do we need to see that before it's done? No? Contract?
I mean, you, more than happy to share with you, I execute contracts.
Yeah.
You're up, I just want to have to share with you.
I just want to make sure that the stops are in. Just make sure the stops are in. That's fine. So we have, excuse me, we have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion is made. Aye.
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 Opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. 401. Thank you all, and best of luck, and I'll see you guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones, I'll get back to you on supplementing the committee.
Good night, thank you.
Good night. Okay, good night. Got a 8:10 hearing.
We're running a little late, Mr. Chairman.
On a roll, I know, my nickname's gonna come up. Dope Flash. One-day wine and malt beverage license, private property. Tom, I don't have a, show me,
Right here, right here, Jay.
oh, that's right.
The colors I talked about.
Okay, yeah, okay. John McQuaid, Private Properties Realty, 21 Bow Street, has applied for a one-day alcohol, which is just beer and wine license. This is the Damon, Private Properties is located in the Damon Tavern building. We have a response from Concom, no comment. We have a response from CPC with no comments. We have a response from the building department. And the building department notes that there's no sprinkler system in the ballroom, and the room is not to be occupied. He also notes there are no sprinkler systems in the entire building. Is that correct? There's no, none of
There's no sprinkler system and this on the ballroom.
on the ball, only on the ball. And from the police department, he asked that the hours be limited, the serving and consumption be limited to the interior of the building, and that the proper serving methods are employed. They also did a background check on the applicant. Issues. And the fire department has no objections to the issuance.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, if you just read,
Did I miss something?
fire to the areas are open to the public and limited to those which are occupancy permit.
Oh. Okay, so no objections to the, provided it's only those areas that have full occupancy permit, which is the
Right.
first floor of the building.
Yes.
So the license is limited to the first floor of the building.
That's what the fire department and the building department's recommend. I don't have in here the hours of operation, the applicant's not
Not here.
for
4
us.
p.m. to 8 p.m.
4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
It's in the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, what? Mr. Muldoon?
Mr. Chairman, I move to grant the one-day wine and malt beverage license for private properties to be held at the Damon Tavern on June 29th, 2002, between the hours of 4 p.m. and 8 p.m., subject to all regulatory department requirements.
Second for discussion.
Discussion, Mr. Bean.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would be much more comfortable if the applicant was here. I have never issued a one-day permit without a representative here personally
Well,
on an alcohol license.
it's not true.
Not true?
No.
Okay, then I'll take that back and explain that to me later. They were here. They were here.
Well, maybe.
They had a representative here. I do have a question, and I understand the chief's concern, and I'm not saying I'm opposed to this, but the proper serving methods are employed to prevent the consumers of alcohol from becoming intoxicated. Who's gonna be serving this alcohol? I know you can't answer that, and I'm not asking you to. I wish the applicant was here, is what I'm saying, to answer these questions.
Mr. Young?
One thing I know, and they had discussions with the Board of Health, is that they still, regarding the food side of it, they're not certain whether it's being catered or not catered. If it's being catered, it may be the caterers, may be the ones serving. I'm just throwing it out for discussion.
If it's catered, the caterer would be serving, and if it's not catered, then the applicant.
I have concerns, but
Mr. Chairman? The purpose of this is an SOS fundraiser, is that correct? Or did I get my wires crossed?
I believe so.
That's what it's for?
I believe so.
Okay. Well, personally, I would prefer that they were here, but seeing the cause that it's for in the late hour, and we've been on schedule, I don't know if they're here earlier or not, but I think we could assume that we're gonna have some responsible adults in charge, and that it's gonna be a pretty low-key affair, I'd assume. So, considering all that, I wouldn't object to the fact that they're not here. I wish they were, but I'm not gonna let that stand in the way of my approval.
Mr. Muldoon?
I just have a question, I think I know the answer, but assuming this this fundraising event goes on, there will be a police officer required to be there.
You could make that as part of the motion.
Stipulated? It's not, no, it's not a requirement, but it's stipulated in the motion. They'd have to pay for a detail from the board.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Kelly?
Mr. Muldoon, I understand your concern. I just think to take money away from
No,
the effort in the police stations across the street,
I
think we should
I'm not
probably
going to do
leave
that.
yeah.
Oh, no, this, I'm not kidding, that's my file. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion is made.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. I'm gonna skip back up for a moment to correspondence. Anybody wishing to see any correspondence?
Gave it to Linda.
Or you
I
can
thought we did.
turn it into Linda. Okay? Item 11, signed bond anticipation notes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, can I ask a procedural question? In terms of correspondence, I know we're speaking of that sheet. Is this the appropriate time to speak about a correspondence that was in our packet this evening, or?
Old and new business.
Okay, that's fine, thank you.
A letter or something.
Yeah.
Old and new business. Signed bond anticipation notes. Mr. Young.
Mr. Chairman, these are bond anticipation notes that the finance department's recommended for various capital projects throughout the town. The town received 10 bids for the slightly over $3 million bond anticipation notes. Roosevelt Cross was the low bidder at 1.463% and should be awarded the sale. Notes are going to be dated June 26th and will be due on June 26th, '03.
This is for,
The board has a listing of
just the
various
list
projects.
in the memo?
There's a number 11. Should be a listing of various projects that involves some school work, some police station schematics, septic work, town road program.
Well, I'll get to yours later. Okay, Mr. Mulder.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the sale of $3,054,000 bond anticipation note at 1.463% dated June 26, 2002 and due June 26, 2003 to Roosevelt and Cross at par.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Chair has a question. I don't know. Mr. Younger, I don't know if you can answer the question. Roosevelt Cross? Never. I've never heard of it. Are they a new?
I can't speak, I received this literally.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'll ask later. We have a motion and a second, further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, unanimous. Item 12, discuss the early retirement bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll just bring you up to speed where we are on this. Allison Olson, our Human Resource Administrator, received from Middlesex Retirement a listing of all employees who are listed with Middlesex Retirement under Group 1 and Group 4. Group 4 employees are public safety, police, and fire. Group 1 is everyone else except those who are in the teacher's retirement plans. She reviewed them along with myself to determine the numbers of those who would be eligible to meet the criteria. Criteria being that you would have to be age of 55 and at least 10 years of service on the general government side. On the Group 1 side, Group 4 is age 45. From
Group 4 is police
and fire, correct. Total numbers would be eligibility 31 under the general government / public safety side, 21 under the education side. We have the numbers of what their balances would be for sick leave, vacation leave, and so forth, which we're calculating out. Allison will be attending a seminar on Friday regarding it. There are some questions that I have on it. Basically, is if the board determines to accept this and they limit the numbers that would be acceptable under it, is whether you can limit, and it appears that you, Allison, will be getting information, is that you would have to limit it by groups, not necessarily departments. So if the board is saying we're only going to allow 10 employees from Group 1, say, if that's the case, then it goes by seniority. The highest senior members within the system
That is the case.
get the crack. So it doesn't mean that you say, I would say 5 from schools and 5 from general government. It doesn't matter. It can be 10 from general government, 10 from education side. In order to seniority. So that's one of the major questions that would be asked at that point, is if you limit it, is that I assume it's going to be limited by groups, not necessarily subcategories. Groups. And also, the fact is you cannot If you don't limit it, and someone says effectively August 1st, I don't want to take it, things may change in their life that November 1st, they wish to take it, because you can take it without limitation if you don't put this anything up with, up until December 2nd, you can file your retirement, and then you're out December 31st.
Is it seniority based or first come, first served based?
If you limit it, and you say it's effectively August 1st, let's say you open it up, and you have 10 people come in August 1st, and they take it, my guess would be the people who are October, who may be higher in the seniority list, they're out of luck. So I would think, and Allison could get that information, but my
I'm
assumption.
gonna be at that
Yeah.
same seminar.
Right, but my assumption would be, once you open it up, you know, you can put limits on it. I think you can say you can open up the window from August 1st to October 1st.
Right, we can have a limited window as well as a limited number of people, and we can break it down by group.
By group, but not by specialties.
But I understand not specialties within the group, we can't break it down within the group, by the group itself.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Vino?
Yes. If we could, what would be helpful to me in making this decision would be the information that Mr. Younger has, because you do have like the final payments should these people retire.
We would have to calculate the total of what Mrs. Olson has, is what their cash out and sick balance
Yeah,
would
that's
be.
what-
And the sick leave buyback is totally different in every contract, also including schools as well as DPW, police, fire. So we just have to calculate. She has the gross amount
Okay.
of what it is, but they don't receive the gross amount.
I guess what I'd be looking for, if the board agrees, I would like to know what each person would get, because that could make a difference in my decision, as to the amount that we'd have to be paying out. And secondly, I don't know how the rest of the board feels on this, but I would like to see us go to the department heads, have them speak to the employees, and see who feels they may avail themselves of this, if it was offered.
We have spoken within general government, and, you know, I know the numbers are definite. The fact is, if you leave a window of opportunity open, obviously, you can't just, because they say now,
I
doesn't
understand
mean
that.
they can't take it.
I
a month or
understand.
two from now.
Right, I do understand, but I think I would like to see a list of the people who definitely will avail themselves of it, shall I say? If in fact we pass it. I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I would be comfortable seeing that. Then I'd have some idea of the cost, such as the benefits, et cetera. I'm just trying to get as much information as I can to make a decision on this. Follow me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Kelly?
Yeah, Mr. Young, I think what would be helpful for me is to see a worst-case scenario
Oh, that's most definitely what we have here.
in terms of budget impact. And I think it would also be important to see, you know, who is definite. But I think we have to, sometimes I think plans like this come into being and they become more attractive to people as they see others taking advantage of the program and so forth. So I really think what I would like to see is a worst-case scenario in terms of budget impact. And I would feel more comfortable making the decision based upon that than upon really anything else.
If I could, Tom, if you could share that with the board, and then if you could share with the board the knowns that you're aware of on the general government side. I did raise this in the finance planning team meeting. And inform the school department. I don't know if they've done any kind of survey or discussion or whatever, but that would be for them to do, not for us to do. So I'd be happy to contact the appropriate party to see if we can get and maybe not names, but get a sense of numbers or whatever. So they have their list.
Mrs. Olson worked with the school business office
Okay,
with the list.
so the
we
school
do have-
business office has the list.
We have actually the list who would be eligible.
Okay.
But be also aware, particularly in the case of public safety, is that even though certain names are on the list for being eligibility, they have already reached the maximum capacity of age or years, so they would not be gaining anything by that. Though they are included, they would not be.
That was the information I was also gonna be looking for when the department head said to the individual, would you be interested? No, I already have my percentage. So that's what that would do. It would give me a lot more precise information as to who may avail themselves of it.
Even though we stated on the general government side there was 31, there is 4 that we know of who have reached the maximum as years and age, so that would not be available, they would not have anything benefited by the program.
So, the list to the group, I'll contact the school department. There's no immediacy to, the sooner we take action, the better, if we're gonna take action at all. And I'll be attending that seminar on Friday as well. It's part of the conference. That's cool. So we'll get more information. And I guess, look at what Tom provides you, and if it doesn't give you all the information you want, let me know.
I would just
Let
request.
me know, because I'd like.
Yeah, I'd request through you, Mr. Chair, that on the school side, if you could, when they do a list for us, which I hope they will, they would naturally do
We
it.
have a list.
I have a list.
He has
Oh, from the school?
He has the list, yeah.
You
I
have it by
just-
seniority, in order of seniority, on who would get to retire, if in fact they,
I have a list of seniority from Middlesex retirement. This is not in list of seniority. Allison has the list from Middlesex retirement based on seniority.
okay, and I,
Can't we just
again,
put-
the other important thing, I'm sorry, the other important thing is, if those teachers would not want to avail themselves of it, I'd like to know that.
They're not teachers, they're
There's no teachers.
It's
No
custodians.
teachers. It's
custodians.
custodians and support staff.
Oh, okay.
Anyone who was not in the
That's right.
teachers'
That's right.
retirement
It's not teachers.
So it's still a pretty large group, though. It's 21?
Yeah,
21?
yeah, it's quite a few.
Well, why don't you get that distributed to the boards sooner rather than later, along with the seniority list?
I think what she could possibly do is, I think she can
I was just gonna say, add a seniority column to that, and then just resort it, and give us whatever that sort, I don't know what that sort is. I mean, if you wanna give us,
She sorted it by department, she can resort it by seniority.
well, maybe give us a departmental sort as well as a seniority sort, just so we can.
Unfortunately, I'm not
Actually, what
eligible.
I'd be looking for is a group 1 and a group 4 sort.
Oh, she did sort of like group one,
That's the
group four.
departmental sort will do that for you.
That's already done.
See,
That's already done.
Okay.
anything else on earlier time? Which is not happening for us.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Ready, Steve?
Still people watch.
I know it, that's why I did it. Yeah.
Now administrators report.
Mr. Chairman, due to the time period, I will pass my time on to the Board of Selectmen.
Good guy. Okay, old and new business. Mr. Muldoon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to let everyone know that the 4th of July activities and events and schedule is out. It starts on Wednesday, July 3rd at 12 p.m. 12 p.m. Yeah, noon. I mean, at midnight it starts. Getting late. Starts at noon on Wednesday, July 3rd, going through, the Amusements will be at the Ipswich River Park, opening ceremony 7:30 that night, fireworks that night, and also fireworks the next night, Thursday, July 4th. So there's fireworks both nights. And that's always a good time. I do want to commend, again, the July 4th committee. They work all year long on that. That's not an event that's put together in the last month or two. It's 12 months of planning and putting together, and Warren Pierce and his committee do a great job with that. I wanted to say I attended a firefighter memorial along with John and Tom. It was an excellent memorial, and it's always a good time when these kind of things come along to a good time to thank the police officers and firefighters and DPW workers and town workers, managers, secretaries, school teachers, principals, everyone who basically gives service to the town. They do a great job, and we certainly thank you. And lastly, on a personal note, I want to say thanks to a gentleman who is moving out of state. I am greatly indebted to him. His name is Joe Masler. And as a member of this board, I'd also like to say thank you for all the work, I mean hard work, that he's done for this town. He's tried very hard to make it a better place to live. And Joe, I want to thank you very much. And I want to wish you good luck to you and your family. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks. Mr. Neal.
Being with the hour, Mr. Chair, I will pass. A lot of mine didn't get covered. I'll pass for this evening.
Okay.
Unless somebody brings up something exciting.
Mrs. Bailey.
I'll take Mr. Younger to Mr. Vino's time now, but I'll be as brief as I can.
Because I'm not getting rid of this pile yet.
Okay, I will be as brief as I can. I wanted to make the board aware, I am the liaison to the VOC, and they will be looking at their assessments to each town, and as you all know, ours had gone up substantially, about $70,000 higher than budgeted. And Paul Sweeney, our VOC representative, had told me they will be revisiting that as new state aid numbers come in as we do, and their next meeting, I believe, is June 27th, and I will either go to that or keep in touch with Mr. Sweeney about that. I also would like maybe in our next meeting to update the board a little bit more about the formula used for our assessment, which wasn't an easy thing to come by, and I just got something from the state this afternoon. I'm gonna look at it a little bit more and share that with the board next time if you think that would be useful.
Just while you're on that subject.
Sure.
I had asked if we could have the vote school rep meet with us and also invite the school committee, because I know they have, as well as finance committee. There's a lot going on there, and we get surprised every year, and I think we need to open, I think I said the minutes.
Yeah, I remember you
Yeah,
asking that.
so-
Yeah,
So I don't want to.
no, I think that would be a good idea.
I guess I'm letting you know,
Yeah.
go ahead and invite Mr. Sweeney and whoever else you want, and arrange it through Tom, and let's get it on the agenda.
Yeah, let me know when it's on the
Get
agenda. I think
the other
that
parties.
would be a good idea. Several, because the Board of Selectmen is essentially the body that oversees the VOC budget and our share of the assessment, other boards have written letters in, I guess, questioning, for lack of a better word, questioning their assessments, which have gone up substantially this year. So it's not the school committee's jurisdiction that would do that, it was ours, but I guess I would feel comfortable, most comfortable if we had Mr. Sweeney here and as a group had a complete and full understanding of where our liability regarding the vote comes from, and then go on record doing or saying what we need to do. So I would support that. Two other things, I guess, in a memo that I had sent to the board a couple weeks back, one thing I talked about was website capabilities, and I guess, again, I would like to encourage, to the extent we can look at that, one of in my research, one vendor I found specifically has recreation registration forms, and recreation is going to undergo a tough year next year, as many departments will. And to the extent they could use online capabilities and online registration, it could be a cost savings and an enhancement to citizens. So to the extent that we can put something in motion to at least look at that and look at where technology can save us money and enhance our services, I would encourage that we set a methodology for doing that. And finally, I'm also liaison to the library trustees, and they've had two terrific events in the past couple weeks. A week ago, Saturday, the Garden Club had a show there, and if anybody stopped in, it was just beautiful. It was not only in the activity room, but throughout the library, and displays were gathered from towns throughout the area, and I know that I ran into some people in the parking lot who had come from out of town special to see it. So it was a really nice event. And then today I had the privilege of attending a volunteer tea to thank the many volunteers who help at the library all year long, and that was a very nice event, also held in the library proper, which was a great setting. The library is also going to have a tough year this upcoming year, and they've used technology very successfully to benefit users and to save money. And if you've been in the library and you see the signs up, ask about email notification, I would really encourage folks to do so. If email is a way that you like to communicate, I participate in that program. And rather than sending a letter with a stamp and a late fee and the labor and the postage involved in that, if I have an overdue book, my notice comes in email. You can also, through the Merrimack Valley Library Consortium, mvlc.org, you can request books online. You get the notification online when they're there. You can see online what you have out, whether it's overdue. And again, get your overdue notice via email. It's a tremendous time and money saver at the library, and it's a great, I think, a great benefit for users. It really makes everyone's life easier. So I would encourage users of the library, if you like email as a notification form, it's a great benefit for everyone. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly? Yeah, I have a few things. One, the first being a letter that we all received in our packets tonight from Mr. Martinez, Mr. Ray Martinez, concerning noise and ATVs being ridden in residential areas. During the past month and a half, maybe 2 months, I've met Mr. Martinez. He's a retired police officer from Somerville, very nice gentleman. And he happened to call me one evening when he was having this problem just outside his house. And I could hear it over the phone. And I know for him, it's almost an intolerable situation. The gentleman who's retired and has moved to North Reading because he likes the, you call it, nature of the town and so forth. Feels he's almost being driven out of town by some of the violations, or what would be a noise violation to his ears and to those of his families. I know he brought up an issue, a warrant article at town meeting, and it was defeated. I would, and I see the response sent by Mr. Younger to Mr. Martinez, saying that we're in the process of looking at something. I would hope that is something that we could do and have it ready for October to meet this gentleman's needs, as well as overall noise requirements. Another gentleman just this evening mentioned it to me about a lot of the, whether it be motorcycles, trucks, so forth, with the volume that seems to be increasing in town. I know there are in other communities where they do have decibel levels and so forth, and not knowing the scientific part of all of this, I think we all know when we're being affected by an abundance of noise. And I hope we can address Mr. Martinez's issues in a timely manner. What he's asking, I don't think is unreasonable. I think it has to be done in a fair way to people that use ATVs and motorcycles, but I think we need to respect the wishes of homeowners to be able to enjoy their property in a manner in which it's comfortable for them. I have a few more items. I'll try to get through them as quickly as possible. Last Wednesday evening, I attended, as the liaison for the Board of Selectmen, I attended the Elementary School Building Committee meeting. And contrary to reports that might have been heard in different parts of town, and that there are no resignations, at least from, I believe there was only one member that wasn't present at the meeting last Wednesday night. Everybody is still on board and wants to find a solution. I think that the sense that I got from what was said in the room, that the majority of them are looking towards presenting the batch elder in some form or manner. I think that would be a step in a positive direction. As one member of the committee stated, the time for study has passed, and everything has been looked at, and the information, all solutions, the information for all different solutions has been looked at, and hopefully they will have some recommendation ready for an October town meeting, which seems a little bit, that's going to be a tough goal to reach, I think, in order to do things that quickly. But I do think that there was a sense of energy in the room, that they do want to find a solution, and they do want to present the voters with the opportunity to make that decision in a timely fashion. With that in mind, and also with knowing what was on tonight's agenda with the Police Building Committee, I was looking through the town bylaws, and within the section that creates the Historic District Commission, it specifically says under one of their duties is to have specific design guidelines. And I think that if the HDC could move towards getting written design guidelines down, a lot of the miscommunication and perceived obstacles to moving forward with solutions to problems facing the town could be alleviated, in that the architects that are under contract with us would have something to look at to know whether their plan is going to meet specifications by the HDC. So I would urge the board to maybe, if we could ask the HDC to come in. I've spoken with someone who's in the field, and there are a number of historic trusts and so forth that will come out and do basically workshops to help people design guidelines specific to their historic districts. I think that would be a step in the right direction, following up what we were talking about here tonight with the police building committee, police station building committee. And I think it's something that needs to get done. It's required by law in our bylaws, and it hasn't taken place up to this point. So I think it's something we should look at. Another thing that concerned me a little bit is looking in the newspapers and so forth about the state budget and how that's progressing. And at this point, it looks like everybody is saying that the increase in state aid, or just putting the state aid back to last year's levels, looks to be moving forward. And I just think it's important that we take a conservative approach in appropriating that money if it is indeed reinstated, with an eye towards next year probably being a little tougher than this year. And I just think that all departments throughout the town need to be very mindful of being able to justify every single dollar, with an eye towards maybe by belt tightening a little bit this year, it's not going to be as difficult next year. And the final thing I wanted to say has to do with what we did also earlier this evening, and that's the trash program. I, for one, am not thrilled with what we've decided to do, but that is what we decided to do. And I would just like to say to the people that aren't happy with the program as it is, the only way it's gonna work, and we need it to work, is for all of us to get behind it. And we've had a hearing on it, we've had our say for those that don't agree with the program as it is currently about to go into place. But the time for that has passed, and we all need to get behind this program and make sure that it works. You know, there's always time for change later on when the opportunity comes. But for now, I think we shouldn't be looking for ways around it. We should be looking for ways to make it work. And that's all. Thank you.
The Finance Planning Team, which is Chair and Vice Chair of the Board of Selectmen, School Committee, and the Finance Committee, handle their designees, along with the Town Administrator, and George Dow, our Finance Director, Superintendent, and the Business Manager. We did have a meeting of the group, and just to update the board, Tom and George will be working on a proposed budget process, which will use new quantitative as well as qualitative criteria for the budget preparation. They're then going to work with the superintendent and the school business manager to mesh that and bring it before the team, and then we'll bring it before all the boards and get a process, a new and different process in place for budget preparation as well as budget review and a form of quantitative measurement that we can work with. It won't be perfect, and it doesn't mean we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It just means we're gonna try a new budget review and a new budget approach. So, budget process. So it was a great discussion, and I look forward to the next meeting where we'll get into a little more detail on that.
Is there a meeting scheduled presently, the next meeting?
Yes, there is. It's the 20th.
Of June?
June. It's chair and vice chair of the committee. The North Reading Business Association came before the board quite a while ago, talked about putting flags out on the flagpoles on Main Street, much like they have in Wilmington, if you've been to Wilmington, or what they've done in Reading as well, because Reading's got theirs done already. So just to, Chuck Carucci is actually working with Mr. Younger, and he'll be working with Mr. Hanlon. That's coming to fruition. That came up at the chamber meeting earlier this month. We had a resignation from the Citizens Advisory Board CAB of Reading Municipal Light Department, Hartnell Bartlett, who has served in that position 12 years or so, maybe even more. I want to publicly thank him for his years of service in the position and for fulfilling his duties in that position. And again, just thank him for his work in that. So we do have a vacancy there. The St. Teresa's dedication, I assume you all received invitations. So I hope I'm out of town. So is somebody, I hope someone can go. That's on Friday evening. They'll be dedicating their renovations and obviously their new space. And unfortunately, I'll be at the MMA conference. If you missed Big Band Night, which was the high school and middle school jazz bands, what a treat. It was last Thursday at Moose Hall, and just a show of the talent we have in the community. I have another letter with many, many comments in it. The entire board get a copy of this? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So I'll bring that up at another time, but one item in this letter refers to the increase of the town administrator. That increase was given over a year ago. So that was prior to where people knew the budget was at, and it was at 2.5 at the time. That was before we did the budget, before I did worked with George on a 3-year projection, and I think 2.5 was a pretty conservative number way back then. So that's my comment on that particular component of the letter. So that was not something that was done recently, it was done over a year ago. And I will be attending the MMA Municipal and Regional Administration Policy Committee meeting on July 2nd. I'm going to talk about some legislative changes. And I mentioned previously to the board that I was serving on that policy committee for the association. And then, as Mr. Muldoon said, the firefighters memorial was tremendous. Great job they did. That's all I had. Executive session. Okay, Chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourn. Thank you.